All characters appearing in this work are fictitious. Any resemblance to real persons or groups is purely coincidental. Which is interesting because this game might as well have been Twin Peaks the game. Without the licensing. Alright, welcome to Deadly Premonition. Been wanting to play this game for the longest. Definitely attention was geared towards hopefully they'll eventually make a HD remaster, which thankfully they did. I mean, look at all those PS2 oh god, semi-graphics. But then again, the original version of this game was meant to be an original Xbox PS2 game entitled Rainy Woods, if I recall. And the protagonist was supposed to be younger than what he is. Oh. Come on, Grandpa, we're gonna be filming a Double Mint gum commercial. Look at those PS2 textures. And again, the PS3 and Xbox 360 didn't fare any better. Again, this game was originally called something called, Rainy Woods. And it was supposed to come out like in 2004 or something like that. With the protagonist being like a younger FBI agent rather than the current age of the protagonist, Agent York. But apparently the game was cancelled because of, I guess, software limitations. So it had to forward a couple of years later when the PS3 was available in the 360. So that way it was able to, come out, so it used a good chunk of the actual assets. And aside from the protagonist changing, nothing much changed from the game. Which is why even if you play the PS3 and the 360 version, you will see that that the graphics really look like not shovelware, but it really looks like a HD PS2 game. And again, the links between this and Twin Peaks are not that hard to decipher. Again, famous girl, I guess town sweetheart, is murdered, and it's a whole whodunit mystery, that introduces you to this bizarre town. I forget what it's called. Shepherd's Glen? Where am I getting Shepherd's Glen from? Anyway, and it's very interesting. And again, there's very Lynchian things to it. Speaking of David Lynch, have you guys seen that semi 20-minute Netflix movie he released with him talking to a monkey? Yeah. Oh no, the tree fairy symbolism. Can't get no more Lynchian than that. Those are some JPEG boobies, covered with hair, that at least being very, very artistic and respectful for the nudity. And just like Twin Peaks, this game did receive, very, very, cult following because of it. And it's one of those games that I've had in the backlog wanting to get. And then when I found out, the sequel was gonna be made by, published by Nintendo, available for the Switch, and on that same day they made the announcement. They said, "Hey, guess what? We're releasing the original one too," which was really awesome. And again, me being a physical copy hog, I was very happy to know that we're gonna release a physical version of this game. So that really, really helped me. So just in case something happens, as much as people love digital, there are those various things that do happen. In terms of, once either the licensing or that company gets bought out or company goes out of business, that digital copy, unless you still have it saved in your hard drive, is forever gone once it's gone. You don't have, PT, for example, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Love that game. For example, like various, and everybody's crying now. Everybody's calling up the ambulance at the moment, crying over this main protagonist, character. And it's definitely, again, if you haven't, like, I've told my friends various times, like, you love Twin Peaks, then you'll definitely love Deadly Premonition. If you're able to get a copy of it, and again, it's just so bizarre. I mean, just the development alone is interesting. The fact that Swery, the developer of this, the writer and the director of this game, you know, took his entire crew to some Midwest American town to get the feel of it, you know, to make this game, you know, at least, you know, relatable in terms of like big city folk people going into this unknown town and the weird characters that reside in a town. Again, it would be weird, you know, from a city folk, you know, moving into like a small residence kind of town, you know, maybe in the middle of nowhere, and just, you know, being weirded out by what to them is normal, but to you might be a little bit out of, you know, your comfort zone. And in the development of this game was really, you know, it's very interesting. But definitely, okay, now we got a title. We had to get like a cold little open so we can start playing. But this is it. Deadly Premonition Origins. Definitely excited to play a little bit of this game just to get a good feel of it and see what's going on. Oh, and definitely, you know, like the little whistle tune that pops up during certain dialogue conversations has become like a favorite of mine. I love, what is it, Life is Beautiful. It's just a nice little whistling introduction to various characters and their off-wall personalities. Alright, we're gonna start. Okay. I love the putty faces. Brandon Lee is the Crow. Okay, where are we at? Are we gonna watch Eraserhead? Oh, okay. So yeah, this is the quote-unquote their version of the checkered floor room in Twin Peaks. It just, instead of midgets dancing, it's two little boys. Nice. I'm confused too. Which was probably a good chunk of people. Again, this game is kind of a cult classic, you know, and I'm glad that it's kind of getting its due.
Just a little longer. This won't take long.
PlayStation 2 models with gums and teeth look really weird, upscaled. Collectible card game. Francis York Morgan, there we go. Okay, let's see. Collect them all now, Topps Trading Card Company. Yeah, this is definitely the Red Room. Okay, getting the feel of it around here. Let's see. And again, I like games that are sometimes that stray off the beaten path. You know, you got your, you know, your diluted colored first-person shooters that were very heavy in the 2000s, in the late 2000s. Like once Gears of War was introduced, every shooter had to have that weird color palette, and just have all things, you know. And it sucks because then all of them look the same, but it also makes one stand out, you know, especially like games like Spec Ops: The Line, you know. And I got that too. Hopefully I'll be playing it, you know. Oh, okay, here we go, the Thompson twins.
It will start soon. It's about time to get started.
It's just so offbeat. This is like, it's so unique in its way how it starts right now. So there's a reason why it's gotten a following. Zack Morris?
Zack, can you hear me? It's me, York.
Zack and York.
If you can
They're
hear my
cops.
voice, could you respond?
No, okay.
Good. I thought you went to sleep.
No, Zack, this is
Don't be
Slater,
surprised.
AC Slater.
The crime took
I'm
place
helping
in the
Jessie
country.
fight away her nicotine addiction.
Let's take it slow.
I'm so excited! I'm so excited! I'm so scared!
Jesse.
Oh god, why am I suddenly thinking of Saved by the Bell? So anytime I hear Zack, I think Zack Morris. And look at this weird PlayStation 2 re
That's one way of looking at it.
re-rendered
Totally wrong.
cutscene with certain bits of screen tearing. Okay.
Listen, they both need each other. It's called interdependency, and they both know it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
just
I
here on
know.
the
He
laptop
does
while
terrible
driving and
things to
smoking and talking at the
Nasty,
same time.
even sadistic things.
I'll try not
But
to
that's
talk
fine,
over the
as
dialogue,
long as
sorry.
That's what Tom wants. Think about it. His actions. He's always asking for it. It's his partner's job to fulfill that need, and Jerry knows that. Proof? Well, in the Tom and Jerry show, they live with each other.
Copyright Hanna-Barbera, now MGM Productions.
Hello?
Zack, I can't believe the Bureau still can't get me a satellite phone.
It's a cellular phone.
These puppies are making me go to another town in the boondocks again.
Well, I'll be a happy camper, even if it ends up being a waste of time. At the very least, it'll get me out of the cramped city for a while. Right, Zack? The perpetrator from the last case really was something. Who'd have thought there'd be razors laced into her nails? Crazy. Just crazy.
Gotta get that tar in me.
At least I now have a scar to show off.
You know, speaking of Hanna-Barbera, sorry to just, again, go on the
I got
tangent.
this when I arrested the Catwoman wannabe. Women. They're crazy. Don't you agree, Zack?
Bitches be crazy? Question mark? I always found it interesting that he just mentions Tom and Jerry, which was again created by Hanna-Barbera, and then again, you know, since they work for, they work for MGM. MGM owns the rights to that property. It's funny that he talks about Tom and Jerry while smoking a cigarette, even though it was the Flintstones that promoted cigarettes. No, seriously, they were that popular, and again, yep. It's still there. The squirrels that sound like monkeys for some damn reason. It's funny that the Flintstones, you know, people say, yeah, it was a knockoff of the Honeymooners and whatnot. And it was the first prime time cartoon show because it didn't air on Saturday mornings. It aired on, you know, prime time, which was like maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. I think on Sundays or sometime during the week. And again, for a kids show to have that, again, The Simpsons, people say that The Simpsons claims to have that, but it was actually the Flintstones. Again, sure, some people will say that, oh yeah, it's a knockoff of the Honeymooners, except it's based in, you know, prehistoric time. But when you think about it, yeah, that's a big thing. You know, it was, for the most part, it was The Simpsons, the Flintstones,
Civilized world.
and of course, Batman the Animated Series. People don't know that the original Batman the Animated Series, it aired twice, which is funny. Its debut went back to back, Saturday and Sunday. Saturday mornings started off the episode of The Red Claw, about that female organization led by a giant butch woman. And then the actual premiere was on Sunday evening before The Simpsons, I believe 7:30 on Fox, and that started with the something on Bat on Leather Wings, which was the Man Bat episode. Again, reason why I know this because I love Batman and Batman the Animated Series is cool. And again, people don't know that it initially started like some of the more friendlier episodes were like played on Saturday morning, but the more serious episodes were played on Sunday evening. Although they eventually stopped that and just put full focus on airing the episodes weekly once the initial episode running placement started.
Hey, I got a better idea. Let's take a Winston break. That's it. Winston is the one filter cigarette that delivers flavor 20 times a pack. Winston's got that filter blend.
Okay. We're in a cutscene now. Hopefully that means something. Follow the path of the burning forest. Where the heck was I? Oh yeah. Yeah, so the initial Batman the Animated Series started as a primetime weekend show.
Welcomed. Zack, I'll let you handle the meet and greet.
You know, before it became a Saturday morning staple and also like a weekday staple once they got enough episodes for the rotation. The thing about that, like, the thing about these primetimes cartoon shows, like the Flintstones, the Simpsons, which should have ended. Again, I'll say it to my grave, and again, this shouldn't, this shouldn't, stop the enjoyment from people who still watch it, hinder their enjoyment. This is just my opinion, but for me, seasons 2 to 10, that's it. But again, it is what it is. Oh, doggy. And wolf? What the hell was that? I didn't see anything. Okay. What's wrong with Wolfie? He sounds sad. Your parents are dead. Your family is dead. Oh yeah, that's just a run-of-the-mill, person going into a barn. You know what I would like to discuss? Primetime TV shows. Let me just get my gun back again. My gun Mac. Again, because I doubt I'm gonna be able to do any good thing with a swinging a pipe. This isn't Final Fight. I just gotta get used to the whole button layout. The thing about primetime television shows, the Flintstones did start it, but it didn't catch on, I guess, until the Simpsons did it. Because again, more people are watching the Simpsons, and again, it's still in the same time slot it's always been, but during that era of the Simpsons popularity, there were various studios that would do, constant, primetime television animated programs. Like, let's see, there was, I think, Family Dog. There was Capital Critters. I think even to a point, Life with Louie, the Louis Anderson animated show, before it got pushed into being set. No, I believe the first episode aired on prime time. Okay, and to see whether or not it can be part of the primetime lineup, but it didn't do that well. It did better on Saturday morning airings than it did prime time, even though, again, there was Little Rosie, but that was Saturday morning already to begin with, and Lord knows I didn't want to talk about that crap. Okay. Okay, that was a weird zoom, but interesting angles. Okay. Okay, that's one thing unlocked for some reason. Alright, let's try this shooting. Okay, thank you for standing there. What? Again, I'm trying to get used to these buttons. And considering I've never played this, so, I watched a couple of Let's Plays, but, nothing, it's different when you're playing it by yourself. Playing by yourself. At least I didn't say with myself. But it's different when you play it than watching someone else play, because they probably, prepared for it so they can look real cool. Because you need to look cool because, hey, guess what? Girls might be watching. You gotta impress some girls. Let's see. There were like, let's see. I already mentioned. The Critic, of course. A very underrated cartoon, primetime show that started on ABC. It didn't do that well, even though it was I at times found it to be even funnier than The Simpsons. And mind you, this was during the heyday of The Simpsons, where no episode can do no wrong. But, Okay, let's start profiling characters that haven't shown up yet. I still know of them, for some reason.
I've been through a lot of crazy situations, but that one takes the cake. It's the first time I've been attacked so directly. Zack, can you give me a logical explanation about what that was? Never mind, don't answer. Life is fun because of the mysteries. Right, Zack?
King of the Hill is probably like one of the ones that one of the more well-known primetime animated specials, just because it lasted a while. You know, even though its airing date kept changing. It originally started like at 7:30, then it aired right after The Simpsons, and then eventually started airing like at 7 o'clock, rather than, because it kept jumping. Like the last 2 seasons, I believe its time, you know, its premiere time kept changing, but that was because to make way for other animated shows that apparently probably weren't given, you know, more love. Like, do I have to mention Futurama? Oh, okay, I got another lead pipe. Whoop-de-doo. Like, Futurama, like, you know, again, just like The Critic, it was one of those shows that it was, some episodes were more funny than than you know, The Simpsons at the time. And it's fun, and you know, one of the primetime cartoons I don't remember watching, although I hear it's so popular, it was, you know, Mission Hill, which aired on the WB. You know, aka WPIX 11, aka the CW right now, whatever it's called. And in the latter half of the 90s, Pinky and the Brain was a primetime show. Yes, Pinky and the Brain, because I guess it suited them better than having it air on Saturday mornings. Although the Saturday morning equivalent was Pinky, Elmira, and the Brain, which was okay, you know. But Pinky and the Brain was actually one of those primetime cartoon shows that aired, you know, in the popularity of Animaniacs. And this was when, you know, the CW, the WB, whatever it was at the time, you know, started buying back all the properties that they had, you know, I guess sent to other networks. Once the WB became its own network, they said, hey, Batman the Animated Series, come back here. Animaniacs, come back here. They took them all from Fox 5, and because Fox, you know, was the actual, you know, network that aired them originally. So, you know, leaving Fox with, you know, not very good cartoons at the end of, once that happened. There was no Batman the Animated Series, there was no Animaniacs, there was no Steven Spielberg Presents whatever cartoon was created at the time. Except for the PJs, which was that clay animated Eddie Murphy primetime show. Which, you know, good luck, you know, bucket of kudos to the clay animators who, you know, painstakingly made those, you know, made an entire season of a clay animated show, stop motion. But, you know, I didn't find it all that funny. And for me at the time, I just watched it because there was nothing else on. I'm not going to watch primetime television or dramas. Lord knows I didn't want to watch a rerun of, like, what, Murphy Brown or whatnot. And, you know, after that, there was like, I know Capital Critters was basically rodents that lived in the White House. I never watched an episode. I did see Fish Police. Capital Critters was ABC, which they were trying to, again, get the whole thing, you know, try to do their own thing. Again, they had the Critic for a while, and they also had, you know, they had the Critic, Capital Critters, and that's it. Aside from that, you know, Capital Critters didn't even last that long. I think it was only a couple episodes. It didn't even air its full episodes. And funny enough, Capital Critters was made by Steven Bochco. Steven Bochco, at the time, was a very famous producer. He was behind the show Hill Street Blues, I think, St. Elsewhere. Oh, NYPD Blue, Hill Street Blues, and I believe even Cop Rock. But it was an interesting scenario. But yeah, it was Steven Bochco. Hill Street Blues, LA Law, and NYPD Blue. And of course he got in, and even was in charge of Doogie Howser. Neil Patrick Harris, his, you know, claim to fame was Doogie Howser. And Steven Bochco created like a good chunk of shows for ABC. So I guess he tried his hand in doing the same thing that you know, Steven Spielberg did with, you know, whatever he was doing at the time. But again, it wasn't even that good. Only, you know, I think only 5 episodes of Capital Critters aired, so they didn't even have its full run. And it was basically like mice. There we go. Mice living in the capital, like city farm in like Washington D.C. And it's just, you know, mice in the White House. Okay, let's make a series about that. That makes no sense, but whatever. You know, I doubt it was very good. It was like canceled, like it had a short run. That's all I know. And it's weird because, you know, I would watch. I think I only watched the pilot. I don't remember much, but I do watch the pilot, and it was weird. I will probably get to it, you know, watch reruns just to see what it was all about. But, you know, if it was canceled in a couple of episodes, that doesn't say much. All right. Now, Dilbert, yeah, we know Dilbert. That aired on UPN. You know, based on the famous comic strip. And that even did more poorly than, I think, Capital Critters, because Dilbert I don't think even aired that many episodes. Like, I know it had longer seasons, it had 2 seasons, and I liked the Dilbert animated series. Although, I guess for many people, they didn't like it. I thought it was some episodes were rarely, you know, good, you know, barely well written. And, you know, and it still had its connections to the actual, you know, Sunday funny comic strip, you know, roots, you know, and it had some really interesting people behind it. Funny enough, again, going on a tangent like I always do, the main voice actor for Dilbert was, you know, Daniel Stern. I'm sorry, I always confuse his actual name to the name he has in the Home Alone series. Marv. I say, hey, it's Marv from Home Alone. The weird thing is, it wasn't until the Dilbert cartoon show, the prime time animated on UPN 9, right after episodes of what is it, the Diary of Desmond Pfeiffer. We'll get to that. But you know, I like the Dilbert animated series, and it sucks that it didn't last long. But again, UPN 9 or UPN or whatever the hell it's called at this point. Again, I don't watch TV anymore. But that was literally like the only show I ever watched, because I'm not gonna watch, was it Homeboys from Outer Space, I think, or again, Secret Life of Desmond Pfeiffer. Again, we'll get to that. But yeah, Dilbert was funny. I actually liked Dilbert. You know, and it's funny that I used the term Dilbert to call someone a nerd. But you know, it was very interesting that there were a lot of all these, you know, cartoons. You know what? Can we talk about Fish Police? Sorry, I mentioned Capital Critters, Dilbert, and everything, but I never went into Fish Police. Fish Police. I think it was literally like the last Hanna-Barbera created production. All right, let's get some headshots here. The last Hanna-Barbera, created thing before they just started just milking, you know, Scooby-Doo, the Simpsons. I mean, the Scooby-Doo, the Jetsons, and all that stuff. It was created by someone else, but it was produced by Hanna-Barbera. Aired on CBS, and funny enough, it was based on a comic book. So they didn't really create it. They just, you know, developed it, I guess, for television. But seriously, I watched like 2 episodes, and I don't know what the heck. It was definitely one of the attempts of various networks, you know, to compete with the success on The Simpsons. Again, every company was doing whatever they can to pitch ideas for, you know, primetime television specials that would rival The Simpsons. And it sucks that even one created by Matt Groening, aka, you know, Futurama, didn't fare well, even though it was literally almost the same, you know, everything. But it was canceled after like the first season, Fish Police. And it was basically, you know, police detective show, but with fish, you know, fish characters. I know the only thing I remember of that show was, again, yeah, it was, you know, protagonist of the series, voiced by John Ritter. Now, again, John Ritter, me being a fan of Three's Company, and I think his only, you know, claim to fame is Three's Company, but still,
Yes.
the guy was able to do, you know, although, what was it, Remote Control? Was that the movie he did that parodied, that had Satan, that parodied Wayne's World, but in hell? Yeah, I believe it's Remote Control, or whatever, or Satellite. I forget what it is. But it was like a film noir, you know, stylized show, but it involved fish. You know, I guess you can, you know, if any fans ever, you know, played The Wolf Among Us, you know, kind of like that, except, you know, Ring and Fairy Tale world exists within the real world. It was, you know, fish related world in a police setting. It was weird. But again, it wasn't really that well known. You can probably catch it, you know, in some series, some network right now, whatever. But it's, you know, it was interesting. It was interesting to say the least, but it didn't last that long. I think they only aired, like, I remember watching like 4 episodes, I think, only. Even though it had, like, you know, let's see, like, I think they only aired, I think it only had like 1 season anyway, so it only aired, I think, like 4 episodes only, if I recall. But aside from that, that's it. That show really was one of those that didn't do well. And again, you know, it had John Ritter. That would have been enough to, you know, get me back in the day. But again, it wasn't just interesting. It wasn't interesting enough to do that. But, you know, the time to make those animated cartoon shows that were appeal to the mature audiences, you know, was something that has always been there. But again, it wasn't until The Simpsons popularity that, you know, companies started to, like, hey, we should do more with this. And it sucks that people still, even to this day, people still have that stigma that animation is meant for kids. No, animation is a medium. A medium is another way of telling a story.